Brothers and sisters, thanks for joining. Hey, I just made a video about the Online Privacy Act in the UK. That's a cluster. And so if you're interested in what I have to say about that, go watch that one. But I also watched South Park this week, and that it's got me fired up to make a couple more kind of political videos. I was just sitting in my pool today, enjoying a beverage, and I just got out of the pool not that long ago, so my hair is still a little wet. Um, but I saw a few tweets from Elon about that online privacy, online safety issue, and I'm like, oh, I got to talk about that. And then I was thinking, I just watched the South Park Trump episode where they skewered Trump this week, and I thought it was pretty great. So I thought I would go ahead and make a video about what I thought about that. Now, I'm not going to link in the video. They actually put it out there for anyone to watch, I think. And so it might be fair game, but I don't want to get a copyright strike, or I would just watch the whole video and talk about it. I highly recommend it. I think it's great. I think it was really good. I think it was well done. It was some of the South Park at its finest. So if you don't like South Park, don't watch it. And it is pretty rude and crude, and it's 12-year-old humor. But hey, the South Park boys are what, 12, 13 years old, so it shouldn't be a surprise. So I'm going to talk about it based on this article. I'm going to react to this article to basically react to the South Park video. But again, spoiler alert, don't watch this if you haven't seen South Park, this episode, or if you don't like kind of crude humor. This probably isn't the right video for you, because I don't know where we're going to go on this one. But I enjoyed it. So if you like South Park, um, I think it's definitely worth watching. If you're a Trump haters love this thing, but also if you're MAGA, I think MAGA like this one too. Some of them, maybe not so much the ones that are really love Trump. But a lot of people I think will think this is funny. So it's a little bit of a spoiler. All right, so with that, again, from now on it's going to be spoilers. So don't watch. All right, so according to the Guardian, and I'll try to remember to link this article into the YouTube, but we're going to go from this article, and we'll just see what this article has to say. I haven't actually read this article. I just pulled it up and said, hey, let's do this. Hey, so lewd, crude, and politically astute, South Park's history of controversy. All right, so the animated comedy enraged the White House this week with a Trump baiting episode, but it's not the first time it's ruffled feathers. Oh no. I think everyone has been mad at South Park, and everyone has sued them over the years. I think there was a big controversy with Tom Cruise and the Scientologists. People thought that might be the end of South Park. Nope, they got away with it. The South Park guys are very astute at what they can say and not get sued. But Trump is very known for suing people, so I bet their lawyers are watching close, expecting, a lawsuit from Trump, because he does seem to sue everybody. So here's Trump as a president in South Park, in a picture. And then So it's been a banner week for South Park. On Tuesday, it was announced that the parent company of Paramount had just struck a 5-year, 10-episode per season deal um, with Trey Parker and Matt Stone for a whopping $1.5 billion. So 50 episodes, they're going to get paid $1.5 billion. That is insane. So that's crazy money. 1.5 billion. Just let that sink in. Oh my God. Oh, and hey, look at the picture down here at the bottom right. South Park's most famous, most furious episode ever. The jaw-dropping satanic takedown of Donald Trump. It was pretty awesome. They did a flashback to old South Park during the Iraq War, where they had Saddam Hussein was basically Satan's lover. They did the same thing, but this time it was Trump. So it's really a flashback, and it was pretty great. It was pretty great. So this comes amid public uproar against Paramount for their canceling of The Late Show after Stephen Colbert's criticism of the studio, setting a $16 million lawsuit settling a $60 million lawsuit with Donald Trump against CBS, which belongs to Paramount, in alleged exchange for FCC approval for their proposed $8 billion merger with Skydance. Said approval was announced on Thursday with the extra caveat that Paramount would refrain from producing programs based on supposed diversity, equity, and inclusion standards. So the left in America is in an uproar that Stephen Colbert got canceled, if you guys didn't know, and kind of that's what it's talking about, the Late Show, and they're all saying that this settlement was a bribe, 16 million, so that they could get that approval from the FCC, which Trump controls. It's true, um, and that Colbert was canceled because he always said bad things about Trump. I think that this South Park proves that that's not true. The way I would put it is if you're funny and you're making the network a ton of money, you could say anything that you want. The execs don't care. But if you're not funny, and let me tell you, Colbert has been way too political and unfunny for a while. Okay. Um, so his ratings are in the toilet. And how do I know his ratings are in the toilet? Because it's been announced, and I might have the numbers slightly off, but it's somewhere around between 40 and $50 million the Tonight Show loses every year. He's got over $100 million budget, and they're losing 40 to 50 million every year. So last time I checked, Paramount was a company that was in business to make money for its shareholders. And if you're losing 40 to 50 million a year, then you're just a vanity project for the political elites that love watching your show. Um, you can't have a show that loses 40 million. So I think this is going to show everybody. I think all the late night talk shows are going to die now. This opens the door for the rest to all get fired, because none of them are funny. And not all of them have bad ratings. And so it's all about the ratings. Stupid. If you're funny and you make money, nobody cares. And I think that's what we see here. Because come on, those guys just got $1.5 billion for South Park, and then they immediately turned around and did this anti-Trump episode. So I think this really should put all of that to bed, about Colbert being fired for political reasons. No, he got fired because he wasn't making money. He was unfunny and he was pissing off the executives. He did even tell Paramount, I think it was Paramount, to F off a couple days later, which I think is not the smartest thing to do right when there's a new deal coming with Skydance. Skydance might just decide to fire him, and not let him continue for the next year on his contract, and then basically fight him in court for the next 5-10 years about his payout. But so not very smart. Now the same thing could happen to South Park, right? It's like the new owners of Skydance could break the contract as well, and they could say, "Hey, we don't like you. We're not going to pay you this $1.5 billion." But South Park has weathered that storm many times, and again, they're making money. They are actually funny. I'm saying it right now. They are actually funny. I watched it. I thought it was funny, and so they can get away with stuff like this. All right. So on Wednesday, the season premiere of the 27th season, South Park has been on the air since 1997 with Cartman gets an anal probe was the very first episode. I watched that last night too. I'm gonna have a South Park marathon. Just FYI. So I may be talking about more South Park in future episodes of this. um, so So, and unless you think Parker and Stone's $1 billion deal would keep them from biting the hand that feeds, they came out chomping, delivering sharp digs at Paramount and CBS for kowtowing to the president's demands. But their most brutal stuff was reserved for Trump himself, depicting him as a petty, predatory tyrant, a la the past caricature of Saddam Hussein, compensating for his tiny penis. I think Stormy Daniels said that, and South Park definitely ran with it last night. So if you want to see Trump's tiny penis, watch South Park. which in the episode's jaw-dropping closing moments, they show in graphic detail via a fake ad using the most realistic AI animation seen to date. I don't know if that's really true about how realistic it was, but it was, again, it was an eye opener. And I think that part might have been a little over the top for me, but hey, it's South Park, and I thought it was funny. But you got to be into 12-year-old little boy humor to do that, and I'm into that. Sorry. So the episode has, in the short time since it aired, proven to be the most. They got a misprint there. Proven to be the most show's most controversial years. They got an extra most there. But of course, it's nothing new for South Park. Um, the most controversial American sitcom, animated or otherwise, of all time. Yeah, South Park is crazy. They've predicted the future. They did the trans, women in women's sports before it was a thing. They did everything already. South Park proved controversial even before it went into production. It was originally meant to pick up the series and expansion of Parker and Stone's 1992 short student film, The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus versus Frosty. Yeah, Jesus has been in South Park since like the beginning, and he makes a big appearance. His Sermon on the Mount is actually pretty decent. Um, this episode. His Sermon on the Mount is kind of funny because it's really all to the city of South Park. Hey guys, stop this or we're going to get canceled. Trump's going to sue us and cancel the town of South Park. So it was really a kind of nod, wink, wink, say no more, say no more. That like if we keep talking bad about Trump, he might sue us and South Park will be off the air. They actually went there. The whole show was crazy. But when the members of the network objected to the character of Mr. Hanky, a talking piece of poop, Parker and Stone nixed the deal, eventually landing at Paramount's Comedy Central. Yeah, Mr. Hanky, the talking poo, is actually pretty funny. I don't think he makes an appearance in this episode, but it's been a while. I don't think I've seen him in a while. While other adult-oriented cartoons have paved the way in terms of both popularity and controversy, The Simpsons debuted in '89, Beavis and Butthead in '93, and Simpsons is still on too. Wow. It was clear from the start that South Park meant to push the envelope further. So much so that a tongue-in-cheek disclaimer was inserted at the start of each episode. All characters and events in this show, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly, and the following program contains coarse language due to its content. It should not be viewed by anyone. That disclaimer probably gets them out of a lot of lawsuits. This did little to curb the popularity with young audiences. It's been a cultural force. Um, uh, and reckoned with it was particularly by educational and parental groups who outraged as its unrelenting dedication to toilet humor, violence, especially profanity, tried their best to get it taken off the air, failing, and to get its merch banned in schools. Um, the series embraced this outrage, using it as fodder for meta commentary. They even had a feature film in '99, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which would, to the surprise of many of the culture commentators, go on to earn as many accolades, including an Oscar nomination for Best Original Song, as it did objections. I watched it. I thought it was a funny movie. As the series continued, its focus started to shift. It dropped popular but stale gags such as who killed Kenny. Yeah, for the first season or two, Kenny, spoiler, Kenny gets killed in like every episode. For some reason, and Kenny's one of the four little boys. But they stopped doing that after a while. And so all the characters have evolved. At the same time, messaging became a central part of South Park. While it always contained some level of social commentary and political satire, that aspect has moved to the forefront. The singular schedule that Parker and Stone kept, episodes are developed and produced within a week of airing, allowed for them to take hot button news items while they were still in the headlines. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Viewers were shocked when South Park ended up airing episodes about Elian Gonzalez custody. He was the little boy whose, I think, mother drowned, getting her smuggling him out of Cuba. Schiavo, Medical Battles in Real Time. I don't even know about that one. I don't know who that was. Maybe I missed that episode, or that for some reason I don't remember who Terry Schiavo is. I got to look that up. Parker and Stone have described themselves as libertarians, although they're Gen X libertarians. Hey, they're like me. And thus less simpatico with today's breed, which meant that they were often pissing off both liberals and conservatives. Well, liberals and conservatives and libertarians are actually three different things. So I think it's fair. Now, a lot of Gen X folks are conservatives, but a lot are liberals too. But I do think Gen X probably does lean a little more conservative. Um, and again, in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong. But again, I see myself as a libertarian. That's probably why, I like South Park, and I still like little boy 12-year-old humor. Sue me. um, you know, yeah. Given the show's sacrilegious origins, it's not a surprise that its biggest controversies came from skewering religions. Perhaps the most infamous episode to date is season nine's Trapped in the Closet, which used the ridiculous R. Kelly song to poke fun at Scientologists Tom Cruise and John Travolta. That was a pretty funny episode, even though the crux of the episode revolves around those stars' rumored sexuality. The real target was the church itself, which Parker and Stone depicted as a cult and a scam. Yeah, and I think they used to have a famous character. They used to have a famous singer from the 70s, a rap. Was he rap? R&B? Probably R&B. So Isaac Hayes, who was great. He used to be chef. He was the chef at the school in South Park, and allegedly he quit. Oh, here it is. Down here. They're talking about it down here. One proven result of the episode was a high-profile departure of one of the show's original voice actors, Isaac Hayes, who was a Scientologist. This in turn would lead to the show killing off his character, Chef, just a couple of years before Hayes himself passed away. Now, to be fair there, yes, that was said a lot, but recently Hayes' daughter, I think I saw, she came out and said, no, Isaac Hayes loved playing on South Park. He was not upset about the Scientology thing. A lot of people did say he quit because of that, but it was really his illness. His illnesses were progressing, and it was shortly before a few years before he passed, and he just couldn't do the show anymore. And it was other people that, made it sound like Isaac was mad at South Park. Doesn't matter. He's passed. He was a great musician, and if he quit because they made fun of Scientology, so be it. If he quit because of his health, so be it. Not an issue for me. He was still a great singer, and he was still great as chef. Similar episodes targeting Mormonism. Yep, they've done the Mormons and the Catholics. They got lots of stuff about Catholic priests and little boys. So if you don't like that, if that triggers you, don't watch South Park. And while they brooked their share of objections from the Church of Latter-day Saints and various Catholic leagues, they were teacup tempest compared with what came in season 10. Oh, what happened in season 10? Amid an increasingly violent reaction from Islamic extremists over European cartoons, they even portrayed Muhammad, something forbidden in certain sects amongst the broad religion. And I think quite right. It's like, I really don't like that Britain is using, their anti-hate speech laws to be in effect, blasphemy ban. You can't say anything bad about the Quran. You cannot burn the Quran or you'll get arrested in the UK, but you can ban the Bible. No, that's wrong. It needs to be equal justice. If you can burn the Bible, I don't think you should be able to burn the Bible. I just a little disclaimer. I do think that is up there with inciting a riot, using the N-word, but I don't think you should be able to burn anyone's holy book. So that I would put that in that category, but it's the Quran or the Bible. But if you can burn the Bible, you should be able to burn the Quran. Should be no problem. And thankfully, this did not lead to violence, so they got away with it. Anyway, so I think I'm not going to read this whole story, but I'll leave it for you guys to read. Let's jump down to at the end. Trump is the most easily offended man alive, while Trey Parker and Stone have never backed down for a fight. if the history of South Park is any indication, this latest controversy is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Uh, the Trump administration put out a really crazy tweet afterwards. Maybe I'll go find it. Yeah, so I just pulled up the statement by the White House. So let's read it. In a statement, White House spokesman Taylor Rogers said in part, this show hasn't been relevant in over 20 years and is hanging on a thread with uninspired ideas in a desperate attempt for attention. President Trump has delivered on more promises in 6 months than any other president in our country's history, and no fourth-rate show can derail President Trump's hot speak, Rogers added. So I think the press secretary messed up with this announcement. I'm sure she approved this going out, because this is from the White House spokeswoman, so I'm sure she works for Carolyn Levitt. I think this was a mistake. It's dumb, right? South Park hasn't been relevant in 20 years. Yes, it has. South Park is still funny. Um, it's like it's crazy that they would even say this. Not relevant. They just got paid $1.5 billion for 50 episodes. So I think this is Trump not reading the room properly, or Carolyn Levitt not reading the room. And I know Trump's probably pissed, and I know really rabid MAGA Trump fans will hate this show, and they'll probably see this and completely agree with it. They'll honestly, most of them won't even watch the show. They'll just see this and go, "Oh yeah, South Park's unfunny. I'm not going to watch it." But full disclosure, I did vote for Trump 3 times because I thought he was the best option. The Democrats didn't run anyone that I could possibly vote for a lot of reasons. Um, uh, but they should have just said, "Hey, yep, South Park is funny," and let it go. Or they should have said nothing. Now, Trump personally hasn't said anything, which is kind of surprising. He says a lot on his Truth Social, but he's left this one alone for now, which I think is smart. But his people should have said nothing. And then lastly on this one interesting thing about this show that's actually to me more important than any of the Trump stuff is Cartman. Like, uh, Cartman is my favorite character, and he's probably everyone's favorite character. But this episode was really interesting because Cartman seemed lost. Because Cartman has been kind of the platform for years and years and years of kind of the worst things that Americans can do. Like, Cartman's been anti-gay, anti-Jew. He's been anti-everything, anti-women. Like, he says all the things that get you canceled. He says all the things you're not allowed to say. But that a lot of people actually agree with Cartman on and so now with the death of woke, Cartman seems a little lost. And the episode was really about that. It's like, what is Cartman going to do now in the world where Trump won and MAGA won and woke is dead? Trump has been doing his darndest to dismantle DEI. Paramount had to agree to stop doing DEI in their settlement with him, is what I read. So yeah, what happens to Cartman next? Is again, Cartman's my favorite character because he's just so great in his outrageousness. He's the little 12-year-old boy who says anything with no filter and does anything, and he's really the evil genius behind South Park. He makes the show interesting. But yeah, where do they go next with Cartman? Hey, with that, that's all I got. If you enjoyed it, yeah, give me a like, subscribe. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments, or don't watch. I don't care. But I'll do more in the future.